KUCI, its management, or the UC Board of Regents. To find out more about this talk show or other talk shows broadcasting on KUCI, log on to our website at kuci.org or check out the latest program guide.
Hello, this is Nima Golubay on KUCI 88.9 Irvine. So, this is the last, show of the quarter, and depending on whether or not I get a show next quarter, could be the end of this show, at least for a bit. But I think I will be back, hopefully, even if it is the end of this run, I guess is how you say it. So, I was thinking, what do I want to make this last episode? And I was thinking we could do Clockwork Orange, which is my favorite movie, but I've done that quite a few times, and I'm waiting to see it with someone. So, I was thinking, do something else, something that you haven't done before, but something that you love. And I decided to watch a movie that I had already seen twice before. It's a movie called Insomnia, and I watched this for the first time, I think, 7 months ago, maybe 6. I don't want to say 6, 7, so I'll say 7, 6. But yeah, it was 7 or 6 months ago, and I really, really loved it, and I watched it again after that, a couple days later, and then I just watched it for the third time on the weekend. And I hadn't reviewed it on CineShow, which is my old show, or I hadn't reviewed it on this. At least I think I haven't. I skimmed my YouTube channel where I post all this and I didn't see it. So I don't think I did. So without further ado, I guess let's just get into the IMDb review, which is what I always do. But we'll talk about, what's ironic? I've been kind of having trouble sleeping recently. So I guess it's a good movie to review. But I definitely wouldn't call it insomnia, what I'm having. So it's a 7.2 on IMDb, and it's a 92% critic score on Rotten Tomatoes, and a 77 audience score. Now, I think this movie is very underrated. I certainly think if it came out today, people would think it's way better. We talked about how everything nowadays is just really overrated on the rating sites for various reasons. Mainly, it's just content is way worse than it used to be, so when something good comes along, people really get excited that it's the greatest thing ever. And also another reason is, with Rotten Tomatoes at least, you can't even leave reviews without creating accounts, so it may inflate the score because, people that create accounts might be more in love with the film. So the film is directed by Christopher Nolan. I believe it's his second film. Wait, let me figure that out. I don't want to say that without knowing. Oh no. It was Memento was his second. His first was Following. And then his third was Insomnia, then Batman Begins, Prestige, Dark Knight, Inception, Rises, Interstellar, Dunkirk, Tenet, Oppenheimer. I've seen every movie he's made except Following, Interstellar, Tenet. So I've seen all but 3. I really liked Dunkirk. I saw that about a year ago. That's a movie I could do a review on too. I haven't done one here. But this is a very... well, let's talk about the actors first. So, a really good cast. Al Pacino playing Will Dormer, who is the detective. Robin Williams, which plays the villain. And I was always surprised that Robin Williams was able to pull off such a disturbing villain, and it's really amazing how talented he was. Hilary Swank was good too. I don't really see her in movies. She plays Ellie Burr, who is another detective, but she's a local cop. Will Dormer, played by Al Pacino, comes in from like another part of the country because he's a Fed. I think he may be FBI. Martin Donovan plays Will Dormer's partner. And Paul Dooley is just this random cop, but I mention him because he's in Curb Your Enthusiasm, playing Cheryl's mother, and I have been watching the show again recently, so I thought I'd mention it. He's a good actor, for sure. Okay, now let's finally get into the... It's kind of weird. There's a fan going in this room, and it's kind of already cold, but it's okay. Alright, let's see. There's the synopsis. I think it's really a crime this movie wasn't nominated for any Oscars. I think it's definitely... It should at least be nominated for some Best Actor roles for Pacino and Robin Williams. So the film begins with an opening title and credits showing shots of white fabric of a person's clothes being crimsoned with somebody's blood, purposely applied by an unseen figure, and a flashback to an earlier event interfaced with overhead shots of the Alaskan frontier. Right when this movie starts, you already know it's a high-quality movie. It's a high-quality Nolan film. It's very clean, crisp, beautifully shot, great nature scouting for whoever did the scouting on this film. And just a very cool environment this film is going to take place. It's taking place in... it's called Night Mute, Alaska. And it's like in the far west of Alaska near Russia. And it's very beautiful, but also clearly it's like a place you don't want to get stuck in. And so a weary detective named Will Dormer, played by Al Pacino, is seen seated in a charter plane arriving in a small town called Night Mute, Alaska, alongside his younger partner, Detective Happy, or Hap, Eckert. We'll call him Hap and Will from now on. Upon leaving the plane, they are met by a beaming young detective, Ellie Burr, who is a self-confessed fan of Dormer's earlier investigations and work, much to Eckert's annoyance. Oh, that's Hap. We'll call him Hap. Upon arriving at the station, Will, Ellie, and Hap look over the body of a 17-year-old Kay Connell, who is murdered. They were sent from Los Angeles to assist the local police in investigation at the request of an old friend of Will's, Chief Nyback. Upon examining the body as well as Kay's room, Will deduces that the washed hair, clipped nails, and the dress worn by the corpse indicates her murderer cleaned her and clipped her nails, as well as the dress worn by the corpse indicates that the murderer killed her and was respectful of the body. Dormer notices expensive dresses in Kay's room, as well as a photo of Kay's friend Tanya that was ripped up, as well as Kay's boyfriend Randy. Dormer deduces that Kay had an admirer and decides to question Randy, only to be told that it was 10 at night despite being day. So this first 10-15 minutes of the film is so effective. First of all, the scene where they examine the body is really awesome. It's dark, but it establishes how smart Will is as a cop, and also that the murderer is a guy that, as Will says, he says something like he crossed the finish line and didn't blink or something like that, or he crossed the line and didn't blink. So this guy, Will, hypothesizes will do it again because he didn't panic when he killed this girl. He was very calm. He scrubbed the body to get rid of the evidence, changed her clothes, and left her. And it also establishes right away at the end of the scene, it's 10 p.m. at night, but it's bright outside, so insomnia. Will and Hap visit a restaurant where they sit down to order food. They engage in a discussion which soon becomes hostile as Hap reveals that back in LA, Will is under investigation by Internal Affairs for using questionable evidence to convict a criminal, which he may or may not have done. Hap tells Will that once the case is over, he will testify against Dormer in exchange for immunity, despite Will Dormer protesting that many criminals he helped bring down can be freed from their sentences if their cases were reopened. Will also expresses that no matter what he has done, it was for the good of other people. Hap sticks to his guns, however, and remains unshaken. Will leaves in a huff as the hotel manager, as well as waitress Rachel, arrives, stating that he has lost his appetite. So Rachel kind of witnesses them have a falling out while they're supposed to be eating together. He kind of storms off and is like, I lost my appetite. But this establishes what I love about this movie and Will's character, and I think it does it in such a tasteful way and complex way. It's the discussion between sort of the desk cops who are working at Internal Affairs, investigating cops that are in the field, and the cops like Will that are in the field and sometimes have to make hard decisions or do certain things that are unsavory or make mistakes sometimes, yet they serve their community. And it's a complex exploration of sort of ends justify the means, and should people that sit behind a desk all day be able to judge people that put their lives on the line, do overwhelming good, but sometimes may fall short due to human error or some other error. But in Will's case, it becomes clear as we go on, he's done some things that are not just human error, but are illegal in order to convict certain criminals. And I'll let that on the back burner, and we'll get to that when we get to that. I don't want to spoil it yet. But this sets it up brilliantly, and it really does a good job. Wow, this is a long synopsis, so I might have to go a little bit faster. Will and Hap visit a restaurant. Oh, sorry, I already read that. The next day, Will connects with Ellie and is charmed by her interests in his work and her aspirations as a detective. Will and Hap pull Randy out of class and interrogate him. Sorry, I'm having a little bit of a hiccup problem right now. But anyway, Randy is the boyfriend of the girl that was murdered, Kay. And there's an amazing scene where they take him into an empty classroom and interrogate him, and he's kind of got this wall up, and he uses expletives at the cops, and he's smoking a cigarette, and then Will just switches up on him, takes his cigarette, and pulls the guy's desk towards him, and basically gets in his face and speaks very calmly to not be an idiot and to give us some information, or we're going to view you as a suspect. So he reveals that Kay was seeing someone else, and Kay was secret about it, and she never told him no matter how hard he beat her. Will and Hap investigate further after Dormer encourages Ellie to double check evidence as well as every detail, which she will later take into consideration. Will looks over Kay's possessions and sees that she collected novels from a certain author. Will continues to try to reach out to Hap, implying his innocence by saying, just because he picks up a bag doesn't mean he's a murderer, to which Hap remains cold and unshaken. A rivalry subtly deepens between the two. Yeah, so this scene, they're trying to bait the killer by broadcasting on the radio that they're looking for a bag the girl was carrying that they've already found. They've taken the evidence and planted it back where they found it. So they're baiting the guy to come get it, and Will is kind of shoving it in his face that, oh, it might not be his bag, to like mock Hap, who's planning on testifying against him when questioning his slightly dirty methods. Will and a team of police lure the murderer into a hunting shack in a nearby foggy forest. The suspect fires a shot and wounds a local officer. The suspect flees into the fog as Will and Hap give chase. So this is the iconic fog scene. A firefight scene. Gorgeous action scene. The two are split up and separated. Will notices he's being followed by the suspect and sees an armed silhouette in the fog. He fires and the figure falls down. Fatally wounded, Will rushes to the figure and discovers that he has shot his partner, Hap, who is confused. Will confesses to Hap that it was him who shot him, which horrifies Hap, who shrieks and struggles. And he basically says, like, you meant to kill me, as his last words, or something like that. A distraught Will tells authorities that the killer who shot Eckert, keeping them from the true information, knowing that internal affairs will never believe it was an accident. Will does not tell the authorities that he carries a .38 caliber pistol. So basically, the bullet in his partner and the bullet in the cop that got shot by the real killer are going to be different. So that's a problem with his story. Dormer calls up Hap's wife to tell her news of her husband's death. She breaks down and tells him to kill the murderer, not arrest him. Suffering from his inability to sleep due to never-ending brightness of the sky, as well as guilt over killing his partner, Will keeps his cool, however, when confronting the wounded officer. He tells the officer that the killer of Kay Connell is the only one to blame for the trouble that has happened. So I like this scene because essentially the cop that got shot is like, this is my fault because basically before they could surround the hunting lodge, this cop accidentally activated the, I don't know what it's called, it's not a blowhorn, but it's those things that, the megaphone, and it alerted the killer. And he's like saying, if I hadn't done that, your partner would be alive, we would have caught the guy. But Will, in my opinion, wisely states, and this goes back to like that ends justify the means mentality, and you know, trying to do like the greater good and serve people. He's like, all what happened that's bad is at the feet of the guy that killed that young girl. Because, you know, in the process of catching this guy, we may screw up and we may make mistakes. But ultimately, the guilt and the responsibility is with the person that started it. You know, within reason, of course. Because, you know, this is just in the line of duty. Things will happen, mistakes will be made. And so Will is haunted by visions of a disappointed Hap watching him from a distance as Ellie Burr's team investigates the area. They find a .38 caliber bullet in the rocks. Will returns to the hotel where Rachel gives him a phone, telling him that another detective on the line. It's basically another detective from Eternal Affairs will testify against Will when he returns to LA, who states he would like to see his report on Eckert's death, worn down by tiredness, stress, and guilt, as well as nervousness of being discovered. Will verbally assaults the caller as Rachel looks on in concern. I don't think he verbally assaults him. I think he told the guy the truth. He basically said that, like, I'm a real cop. You just sit behind a desk. I put my life on the line every single day, and you just like to complain and, you know, try to bring us down. And I agree with that. I think that the guy doesn't have a right to claim moral superiority. I think he can really just claim to be a clerk, really. So Will sees a carcass of a dog in an alleyway and shoots it with the .38 he retrieved from the killer who dropped it in the fog. He retrieves the bullet and cleans it, brings it to the morgue where he sees Hap's body being covered by the medical examiner. He receives the 9mm bullet that he put in his partner by accident and swaps it with his used .38 bullet. Suffering from his... So this is a little complex at the beginning, but it becomes clear as you watch. Suffering from his insomnia, Will visits the police station and struggles with hearing loud noises. Ellie brings him a report closing Eckert's death case, which Dormer is tempted to sign and finalize. However, listening to his conscience, Will refuses and encourages Ellie to recheck her evidence that Will's death is not to be taken lightly. So there's this like constant duality of Will Dormer. It's the guy that does want to do things by the book and the guy that kind of doesn't play by the rules, has done some things that are questionable, but ultimately it's clear he serves the greater good, but it's kind of like a Machiavellian sort of character. But there's always something in the back of your mind that, like, will this character take a dark turn? And he eventually does, but in the end we'll see if that's redeemed or not. He returns to his hotel room and tries to tape over a curtain over his windows. However, the bright sun keeps him awake. Ellie goes over her evidence and discovers that there were facts she overlooked regarding Eckert's death. Will attempts to sleep, but is haunted by memories of tampering with evidence and killing his partner. So this is what Internal Affairs is investigating him back in LA. As he's about to fall asleep, a phone call awakens him with, "Can't sleep, Will?" A chilling voice at the end of the line calls Will when he's just about to sleep. The caller reveals that he saw Will kill his partner and drops his .38, which Dormer picked up. He says he dropped his gun because he wanted the cops to know that it wasn't him who shot Hap Eckert, Will's partner. Will tries to keep the man on the line, but the man hangs up with a very clever line. "We're partners in this," he says. So, I think the guy's clearly established as like a smart villain just by one phone call, because he's kind of like a wordsmith, and he uses like irony and sort of double meaning, and knows how to really get under the skin of Will and make him uncomfortable. And subtle threat, like, "I know what you did, I will reveal it." The next day at Kay's funeral, Will notices Tanya and Randy together. Tanya is her best friend, Randy is her boyfriend. So this is a little weird. They look like they're flirting together. He offers Tanya a ride home in his truck, to which she agrees. As they are driving, Will attempts to question Tanya, only for her to try and seduce him. However, he frightens her into compliance by driving on the wrong side of the road, nearly getting totaled by an oncoming semi-truck. So this is another like kind of example of him using dirty tactics. He's trying to really scare this girl and put both their lives in danger to do it in order to get info out of her. He brings her to the garbage dump where Kay's body was found naked and in a plastic bag. Tanya weeps, confessing by the time Kay was killed, Randy was cheating on her with herself. And because of that, Tanya would not give Randy an alibi. So that's why the night Kay was killed, Randy doesn't have an alibi, because he was with this girl who was her best friend, and the best friend's not willing to admit that she was cheating on her best friend's boyfriend. Will discovers on his own that Kay was visiting. Oh, well, she also tells Will that, like, she had another man, an older man, I think. But she doesn't know who it is. Only that she referred to him as Brody. And Will discovers that one of the books in her bag was written by an author named Walter Finch, and the title of the series is like A.J. Brody Mysteries. Will receives more calls from the mysterious man and deduces that the caller is Finch. Will finds Finch's apartment in the town of Hewitt. After appeasing Finch's dogs with some treats, Will basically, Finch comes back to the apartment, a chase ensues, and Will falls through these lumber logs that are flowing down a river. It's like a mill. Well, I don't know if it's called a mill, but it's like a logging camp or whatever. He escapes and returns to Finch's apartment, having nowhere else to really go. Oh my gosh, this is such a long synopsis. While waiting, the phone rings and Finch encourages Dormer to go take a shower and go to bed. Will answers and they agree to meet on a ferry outside of Night Mute to discuss what to do of the present issue, as well as the instructions to feed his dogs as they are on a diet. Finch never returns, and a defeated Will returns to the police department, but not before hiding Finch's pistol in Finch's vent to frame him. So once again, Will is playing a little dirty here, but in terms of does it serve the community and is it the right thing to do in a way? It is in a way to frame this guy because it's clear he's the killer. He's confessed to it over the phone, but there's no proof. So he hides in an event to frame him, and on the ferry there's a absolute masterpiece scene where they talk, and this guy's like, I'm not who you think I am, and that he's like, oh, I love cops, I write about them, and then he claims Dormer that killing the girl was an accident, just like he shot his partner, which is of course just nonsense. But he basically blackmails Will and says, like, I know you killed your partner, and lied about it. And Finch appeals to Dormer's beliefs that his job and actions have made people safe, and if he reveals that he killed his partner, his work will be questioned, there will be like retrials, and many people will get out. So he says, let me go, don't turn me in, I won't turn you in. All your life's work will be intact. It'll be for the greater good. So it's a challenge. And then, the killer gets off the ferry and reveals to Will through the window that he had been recording the entire conversation. So now Will is really screwed. Will returns to his hotel where he had a vision where he saw Will clearly shot him on purpose. Where he saw Hap and that he clearly shot him on purpose. Finch calls up to discuss their further machinations. Dormer insists that they should trust each other. Will will need... I keep saying Will or Dormer. Jeez. Okay, from now on I'm going to say Dormer, which is his last name. His name is Will Dormer. I'm going to call him Dormer, because that's what it is written in the synopsis, so it's a little confusing. So, Dormer will need to know the truth of how Finch killed Kay. Basically, the girl came to his house drunk and distraught about how Tanya and Randy were cheating together. Finch tried to calm her, but lost hold of himself and kissed her. Kay started laughing at him, and basically he just went insane. His pride got hurt, and Finch started, punching her and then, beat her to death, basically. So that's his version of an accident. And this is a very dark scene. It's basically a guy describing beating a girl to death, very over the phone. And it's dark because Will is in a position where if he turns this guy in, many criminals might be released because he's under investigation and they'll question his life's work. Finch offers to hear Dormer's confession of killing Hap, but Dormer hangs up, knowing that he must keep his wits about him. Dormer meets with Burr, so that's Ellie Burr, I'm going to call her Burr from now on, who notices his degradation and tells him in an effort to boost his morale that, quote, a good cop can't sleep because he's missing a piece of the puzzle, and a bad cop can't sleep because his conscience won't let him. So this is a little bit Ellie poking a little bit of or hinting a little bit that she's a little suspicious of Will, and the story he gave about killing his partner doesn't really add up too much. Finch is interrogated by police, and it goes smoothly, but Dormer loses his temper and finds himself unable to agree to Finch's plan to frame this kid Randy. But during the interrogation, Finch pushes the blame on Randy, stating that Randy had a 38 pistol hidden in a heating vent, subtly revealing to Dormer that he knows he attempted to hide it in his house to frame him. So at this point, Dormer is like coming back from, or he's not even coming back. He hasn't really agreed to frame this kid, but he's like, I gotta go to his apartment quickly, find this gun before they take it. And yeah, Dormer loses it in the meeting. He basically starts screaming at him and saying that this guy only liked this young girl because he wanted to, I won't even go into it, but he wanted, he was attracted to her. And the guy denies it, but it's pretty obvious that's probably what it was. So Dormer rushes over to the house to get that gun before the kid is framed, and he's too late. They get it before him, and unfortunately Randy is arrested, and as he's being led into the car, he gives the detective a very dirty look. And this, I imagine, adds to his guilt, because now he's basically presiding over the imprisonment for life, or maybe even execution of someone that did not commit the murder. And he's also in a position where he can't really say it, because now he really can't say it because there's evidence to the contrary. But if he does, he'll go to jail. Or he'll maybe go to jail, but his life's work will be undone because he killed his partner and lied about it. Dormer meets with Finch, and Finch explains that Dormer was trying to reveal Finch's machinations to the cops ever since pretending to work with him. Dormer takes Finch's tape away and destroys it before assaulting Finch and threatening to kill him. This scene feels good. Like, you don't really care that, it's a cop threatening to kill a guy. Like, this guy is a real menace. Like, he's a guy that beat a girl to death and is now trying to, like, be clever and, like, frame someone else for it. So you're like, yeah, get in his face. The two leave, and Dormer sinks back into wariness. Burr searches the surrounding woods where Eckert was killed and finds a 9mm shell casing which conflicts with the .38 caliber bullet Dormer planted in evidence. She asks Dormer for his opinion, only for him to state that the case is closed, much to her rising suspicion. So it seems like, the case is over, they're all going home, he's going back to LA, but this young detective is like, very suspicious. She embraces him in farewell, but she feels behind his back and feels a 9mm gun concealed in his clothes. She now knows that he killed his partner and that he switched the evidence to make it look like it was one gun. Finch invites Burr to his lake house where he says he has evidence of Randy's abuse of Kay via letters she wrote to him, fearing for her life. A careless and distraught Dormer returns to his hotel room, where he's haunted by memories of him planting false evidence to condemn a killer, as well as the ghost of Hap, who eyes him in disapproval. Dormer arranges his luggage to leave and tries one last time to get to sleep, but he makes loads of noise trying to cover the window with luggage, and Rachel, the hotel owner, comes in and says it's really bright, I can't sleep, and she sits down and talks with him, and basically this is one of the finest scenes in the movie. Another total perfect scene, masterpiece. He basically concisely explains what exactly he's being investigated for back in LA. It had been gradually talked about, but this is where he tells exactly what it is, and he gives a very disturbing story about a boy that was kidnapped by a pedophile, and after 3 days, he was hung by the guy. So, essentially, Will was on this case, and, despite the fact that he's dealt with child killers, hundreds of times. He knows what they're like. In this case, there just wasn't enough evidence for a jury to convict without reasonable doubt. And Will took it upon himself to plant the boy's blood in the guy's house to ensure a conviction. So he commits a crime, but he puts away a child murderer. And he basically concludes this story with the ends justify the means. And Rachel said she's in no position to judge him, but he asks for her opinion, which is kind of like a level of humility, because this whole time he was like criticizing other cops that sit behind a desk that are trying to like destroy his life's work, but he's willing to like hear I don't know if she's the hotel owner or she's just like the hotel front desk person. Either way, she's a civilian that has nothing to do with fighting crime. But he asks for her opinion, and she says, I guess it's about what you thought was right at the time and what you're willing to live with. So it's kind of this dual thing where he probably did the right thing, but he has a hard time living with it, because he does want to do things by the book, but at the time he doesn't feel he has the ability to let this guy go that he knows is guilty. So now he looks at himself in the mirror, washes his face, pauses once to look at Rachel napping peacefully on the bed. He resolves to go get Finch and free Randy. Burr goes to Finch's lake house, where Finch has not yet fabricated the letters he claims to have received, and asks fearfully. I don't know what that means. He deduces that she has realized that Dormer's hand in the death of Eckhart. He knocks her unconscious when she sees the dress in one of the cupboards. A relapsing Dormer drives to Lake Kagun, almost becoming hypnotized by the windshield wipers and almost crashing into a car. He spins out on the road, but he arrives at the cabin on the lake. Dormer holds Finch at gunpoint. Dormer suffers from hallucinations because of lack of sleep, insomnia. Finch takes advantage of this, beating him to the floor savagely. Burr intervenes and Finch retreats to his fishing shack. Burr holds Dormer at gunpoint, stating she knows he killed Eckhart. Dormer confesses he did so and it was an accident, as he could not see. However, due to his guilt, he's now not even sure that it was an accident, because he saw that his partner was so afraid of him, so it's sort of haunting his whole life. He doesn't know whether he shot him on purpose or not. So there's a gunfire exchange from the fishing shack in the main house. Finch has a shotgun now. Ellie gives Will his gun back, basically saying, like, I believe in you as a cop. Go fight. Will sneaks to the fishing shack, and he gets shot, but he shoots Finch. And Finch falls into the water, falling lifelessly into the frigid waters. Dormer is bleeding out. Ellie arrives there, helps him. Knowing that he is dying, she takes out the 9mm casing, saying that she knows he did not mean to shoot his partner and that nobody has to know. She prepares to throw the casing into the lake, but Dormer stops her, insisting that the world needs to know the truth and that Berg do the right thing, instructing her not to lose her way. Basically, Dormer dies, and the last line of the movie is, "Let me sleep." The film ends with Ellie Burr standing on the dock after placing the casing back in the evidence bag. She looks determined, looking down with reverence at her dead hero who died, preventing her from making the mistakes of doing wrong things for the right reasons, as he had done. After the end credits, the film's title, Insomnia, appears once more before fading into darkness. Very complex movie, complex character, a difficult analysis of doing wrong things for the right reasons. It's wonderful. It's got everything. It's got your action. It's got your perfect direction. It's got your emotional scenes where you really do feel stuff for the character. It's got your intrigue. It's got your mystery. It's got a great villain played by a great actor. It's got a great supporting actor in Hilary Swank playing Ellie Burr. All around, just a really, really well crafted film. There's like very little wrong with this movie. It's hard to find something. I rate it like a 9.6. It's in my top 50 movies of all time, which is a high honor. It really is. And here's my background with this film. It's so weird, but I used to see this movie like every single week. And by see it, I mean just the cover. So, I don't know how many of you have Apple TV, but essentially on Apple TV you have your library where all the film posters / covers are displayed, and you pick from that. So at my friend's house, I used to see all the time Insomnia. I really liked the cover at the time. He had told me that he had seen it a while before, and that he liked it a lot, but he wanted to see it again because he thought it was really good, but he kind of didn't remember it too well because sort of before we started getting in our full movie mode and watching a lot of stuff. But I just remember seeing it over and over again for weeks on end, months, and I would just keep seeing it, and I don't know why certain small, insignificant things grow a place in your memory, and yet others seem to fade away that are much more important. But for some reason I just remember that. The poster of Insomnia in his Apple TV library. And there's so many other memories from, like, I'm not even talking, this is not really childhood, this was like 18 or 17 years old, but there's certain things I remember from when I was like 4 or 5 that are completely insignificant, yet for some reason I remember them. Like, I have this one memory of when my dad got his first iPhone. I remember holding it in my hand. He 100% doesn't remember it, yet it's so clear to me looking at the iPhone for the first time. This was probably in 2006 or 7. Probably 7. I was like 5, I think. There's a bunch of other memories. I remember certain dreams that you shouldn't remember years in the future. I remember one nightmare I had when I was probably in 3rd grade. I remember another nightmare I had when I was like 5 in my old house in Minnesota, where my cousin fell from the railing and landed on the couch. I remember not even watching a movie. I remember not watching a movie with my mom. It was called Hidalgo. for some reason I remember not watching the movie and just looking at the cover. I still haven't watched the movie to this day, but I remember not watching it and feeling bad because I think she bought it for me. I still remember it to this day. So many tiny memories I remember. And yet, like, I couldn't remember things that I'm sure were much more fun and significant, like having a birthday party or whatever. But that's a little bit different, because obviously I remember loads of stuff from 5 years ago. But yeah, there's just this little memory that I remember about Insomnia, and then some years later I bought it, intending to watch it. I didn't watch it for many years, a few years. And then I finally watched it in 2025. I really fell in love with it, and of course, he has very good movie taste. He does have good music taste, I think, but good movie taste. So I really did like it, and I was surprised by how much I liked it, because I assumed it to be like probably a great film, because it's Christopher Nolan, it's very good, but I didn't expect it to be one of my top 50 movies of all time, because that's a really hard thing to get into my list, because I've already seen so many great movies. There's a lot of great movies I haven't seen, but of course when you look at ratings and you're like, okay, this movie is rated well, but it's not considered one of the greatest movies ever. And then when you discover it and watch it for yourself and it becomes one, it's exciting. I really like finding movies that people underrate and that I really fall in love with. And this movie is not only underrated, but it's under talked about for some reason. It's like genuinely one of those movies that's kind of perfect, where you can't really find anything wrong with it. I wouldn't know what to say if you asked me the flaws of the film. The only reason I wouldn't consider it a 10 out of 10 is due to, like, comparing it to other movies that I like more. But if it was the only movie I had ever watched, why wouldn't it be a 10 out of 10? Because it's so hard to find anything wrong with it. But yeah, that's my little bit of history with the film Insomnia. What else? Let's talk about memories in the last couple minutes. Well, if this is the last episode of the show, I don't know if it is, but if I don't get renewed for another quarter, then I guess I'll say subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's Rollercoaster in the Clouds, KUCI. You'll find it. It's a picture of Anakin Skywalker. We've done a lot on this show. It's a bit different than my other show because I've talked about more TV shows, which I don't know if I even did on my original show. But we did a few episodes with TV shows. We did Clone Wars. We reviewed the whole show. I briefly reviewed Maul on my last episode. That was a pre-recorded show. We've had some fun. We talked with Alex Myers a lot about Night of the Seven Kingdoms, which was really fun. We almost did a show together this upcoming quarter. The reason it didn't work out was because basically I didn't know if I was going to be able to do my show live, because I hadn't yet got permission from my boss to take an hour later to get to the office. I work like 10 minutes away in a law office. But yeah, so I didn't know that. So, but he will definitely be on as a guest, seeing I get renewed or not. I don't know. What else have we talked about? I can just look up my YouTube channel quick and I'll tell you. In the Clouds, KUCI. Okay. One second here. Okay, search up my channel, just Rollercoaster in the Clouds, and then KUCI. Type that on YouTube. Yeah, there I am. Oh yeah, I talked with my friend Arian, who has a show here about Animal Farm. We reviewed Amadeus. That's one of my best episodes. Thomas Crown Affair, that was very fun. We did X-Men. We did Born Identity and Born Supremacy. We did Thor 1 and 2. The Shining. 12 Monkeys with my friend RB. Doesn't want me to say his name for some reason. This is a celebrity, it's fine. Spider-Man 1 and 2. We did Clone Wars. Night of the Seven Kingdoms was one of our best series. We did Nuremberg, War of the Planet of the Apes, Batman Begins, Negotiator, Clone Wars again, and Bad Batch. Yeah, that's how it started, with Bad Batch. Alright guys, that's been about an hour. It's been very fun today. I hope you enjoyed the movie, and please give it a shot. It's a great film. Bye.